Welcome to Enlightenment Unknown, Life of a Spiritual Nomad. Join Reiki Master and Quantum Healing expert Wes Coons as he guides listeners through the depths of self-discovery and spiritual enlightenment to uncover the version of you we haven't met yet. Hello and welcome back to Enlightenment Unknown, Life of a Spiritual Nomad, where we are going behind the scenes of Season 2, Episode 1. Wes, can you believe it? This is our first behind the scenes of the season.
I know. I can't believe we're here already. And I can't believe we're recording this a second time because the system didn't process it the first time. Isn't that great?
Well, it's great because at least we know I hit record this time.
Oh, she did hit record. It's the daggone system that's not working right. So hopefully this is going to be perfect.
It's going to be perfect. Don't worry about it. So do you want to say anything before we get started?
Yeah, I want to say thank you to all our listeners. We've got the best listeners. I didn't tell you I had somebody reach out, or did I? I had somebody reach out from Tony. I forget where Tony's from today. Tell me she liked the show and was talking about some healing stuff. It was pretty cool. So, hey, Tony, thank you for listening to the show. We appreciate it.
That's awesome. It's always so great to hear from the listeners. And as always, you can reach Wes at VB Healer on Instagram, and you can go to his website, vbhealer.com.
That's right. Ask any questions you want. We'll give you a straight answer every time.
Yes, and today, all of the questions are coming from me. So again, you never know what you're going to get.
Never know what you're going to get.
All right, so do you want to dive in?
Sure.
Okay, so let's start with past lives. You were saying that when you were meeting Lakota for the first time, that you believe that you guys had past lives together. Can you tell us about past lives and your thoughts on that?
Sure. You know, when I first met her, you know, she greeted me like she'd known me forever. And eventually she started talking about how we were brothers in a past life. And if you listen to her tell the story, she'll tell the story in great detail of the day that I was born, me growing up, all these different things. It's a little bizarre to experience, to hear it in that kind of detail. But you know, when you meet somebody and you instantly have that connection, that is your soul recognizing the other person's soul from a past life. And it could be unique. It could be, you know, quite beautiful, honestly. And, you know, with Lakota, she's so gifted, she can remember so many different things. Even the day she says she watched me die. I mean, she sobs every time she tells that story. It's bizarre. But I know past lives are real. I've had people on the healing table, and one of the things that I've found is the trauma that has taken your life in a past life can carry over to this life. For example, I had a lady, her right shoulder and her hip hurt all the time. Doctors never could figure it out, Andrea. So when I was working on her, they showed me a past life where she was a little girl and she had played by a train and she got ran over by the train, and her arm and her leg was removed from that accident. And as I worked on her energetically and put that all back together and fixed it, suddenly she says, "I'm not in pain anymore." She didn't know I was doing that work. She was on the healing table. Her eyes were covered. I didn't tell her, and that was pretty trippy. So that was pretty cool.
That's really amazing. It makes you think a lot about, you know, the things that you are afraid of maybe, or the different pains that you have.
Oh yeah, somebody who's afraid of water, 100% is drowned in a past life. They just did this scientific study. I don't know what they did to the mouse, but they showed that the mother had 12 sets of babies, and 12 generations later, the babies born still carried the trauma from the mother.
So really, it is always the mother's fault. Is that?
Yeah, it could be a woman's fault, just saying.
just ask my teenage daughter. Yeah. It's my fault.
Yeah. Children are special. Mm-hmm.
All right, that's awesome, Wes. And I think I actually jumped a little ahead because another question I had was about when you and Ty were driving up to Lakota's place for the first time. Mm-hmm. And you said that it was like going through an energy bubble. And you said it was actually painful. So can you explain what you felt and why maybe it was painful going through that?
Sure. Well, during that time, I was so spiritually open. And I don't know why I just was. So, everything that I was able to experience with the gifts that God was presenting to me was wide open 100%. I couldn't control it. I couldn't manage it. And there is a bubble there. The bubble of protection is from the prayers are from the thousands and thousands of prayers on that mountain. The funny thing is, she lives at the top of the mountain and she never runs out of water. When everybody else around her doesn't have water because of the drought, she always has water. That's a gift from God from the prayers that we do. And I remember going through that. I remember because it was like 14, 18 inches thick. And for me, it just felt like shards of glass going through my body. Ty's over there having a great time and I'm like in agony. But that was the routine right then. That's what it was like during that time period. Everything was painful for me.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And you mentioned Ty, and I do have a question about Ty. Actually, I'm compiling Ty-related questions. So, Ty, if you're listening, I think we need to have a whole episode where we just fire questions at Ty. But one of my questions is, you were talking about in the episode how when you drove up to Lakota's place, Ty was looking at everything in God's glory. And you were just trying to stay alive. And it creates such a contrast. Have you and Ty talked about that since?
Yeah, we've talked about it a lot. During that time period, I don't think he fully comprehended how much I was struggling. And we've talked about that afterwards. There's a chapter in the book I was writing called Homeless in My Maserati. That contradiction in that is there was nowhere for me to go. So, we'd spend every evening together, go to dinner together. And, he was keeping me safe. He was giving me something to do. He was protecting me is what it really was. But when I would drop him off at night, I had nowhere to go. And so when it gets late enough, and nobody's around, the energy really slows down. And so I would sit in parking lots where I felt comfortable with the engine off, the radio off, just sitting. And you could watch things walking down the street. You would see these weird, bizarre things, but they didn't see me for whatever reason. And, those were things that I didn't tell him till later. There was lots of dark things that I didn't share with him because I didn't want to talk about it. And I knew he'd be afraid for me.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I can't wait until we have Ty on the show and get his side of it. And while we're talking about that, you said that as you went on, you could feel others drumming with you. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, her mountain is so special. When you're up there, Ty and Jen and I went up there, I don't know, I think it was Christmas a couple years ago or something. And we drummed for a little while, and I went to bed, and they both could hear other people drumming later in the evening. They could hear Native American people singing songs, and the ancestors come in. The ancestors come in, and they honor us with their presence. And for some reason, when you drum long enough in that peace chamber, just something happens. This energy field opens. I don't know what it is, but you can feel it. It is fucking crazy to feel. I mean, it feels good. The energy is just strong. It's powerful. You're hitting that drum, and all of a sudden that drum is like boom, 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 and the walls are shaking, and you can feel it resonating through your body. It is something special for sure.
It sounds really special. Yeah, I would love to experience that. That's amazing. And so I just have an observation, maybe with a follow-up question. So Wes, you're the only person I know that will casually drop And then there was this green-eyed dragon that showed up, and just that's all we heard. Like, there was this green-eyed dragon, and I move right on with the rest of my story. You're the only person that will name drop like a dragon like it's a celebrity. So will we be hearing more about the dragon as your journey continues?
Absolutely. I love my dragons. You know, the first time the green-eyed dragon showed itself to me was up there. I believe we were doing a sweat lodge, and it came in. Of course, your eyes are closed, and you see this thing come in, and it's like right in front of your face. I'm like, hey, how are you? And when I'm up there now, I can feel them energetically flying around. I work with them with my healing work. I have a red dragon that I work with. And if I'm doing demonic work, if I'm removing an energy from somebody's house, I don't go there. I use my tools. One of my tools is a red dragon, and I send that dragon, and it grabs it, pulls it out of the house, and Archangel Michael takes it away. So yeah, we're going to talk about dragons all the time.
I love it. I can't wait. I can't wait to hear more about dragons. So those are all of the questions that I have. Is there anything that you wanted to add before we sign off?
No, I think this is going to be a really fun season. We're getting some really cool things. I want to thank the listeners again. Thank you, everybody. If you haven't given us a 5-star review, please do so. Tell a friend. Help us get the word out. And it's fun. You know, it's I don't know if it's even fun, but I still keep getting amazed when somebody reaches out and said, hey, you helped me. And I don't fully process that, but people will say, hey, you said this and that resonated with me and it helped me move through something. So I'm glad you're finding something in the show. I'm glad you're enjoying it. I'm healing from it as well. And I just want to tell you, thank you so very much.
All right. I can't wait for episode 2.
Hey, this season is going to be cool. We've got exorcisms. We've got dragons. We've got sweat lodges. We've got
rebirthing ceremonies. You got me digging a grave. You never know what's going to be on the next episode. And we're going to talk about, at some point, the Vision Quest. That's going to be fun, too. Stay tuned. You've been listening to Enlightenment Unknown with Wes Coons, your guide on the quest for self-discovery and the version of you we haven't met yet.